wrote a very provocative piece that went out yesterday afternoon, I guess it was, titled "How Trump Won: A Warning," which is kind of revisiting your 2020 book, How Trump Won.
Yes.
And of course, he didn't win in 2020. Let's hope you missed this one too. But give us the narrative. This chronology is alarming.
Look, I'm not partisan. If you want to vote for Trump, vote for Trump. The question is, I don't want vote suppression and vigilantes, this whole new system, to elect our president. Voters, not vigilantes, should choose. So I bring out all the nightmare scenarios. So we're warned and we can do something about it. First, True the Vote has announced proudly, as of 2 months ago, that they had challenged 851,000 voters under these 100-year-old Jim Crow laws. We have not seen this used since 1946, when the Klan, by the way, incorporated as Vigilantes, Inc., which is how we got the name of the film, when the Klan set out to challenge every black voter in Georgia. But the FBI was about to arrest the governor of Georgia for doing that. It's a violation of the 15th Amendment. He drank himself to death just before the agents arrived. But here now, we've got 851,000 Americans, and they, according to Martin Sheehan, and he's right, they're claiming that they're aiming for 2 million challenges. There's really virtually no coverage of this. These are not government agents. It's not the government removing the people. It's self-appointed, and every one of that I've checked is a white GOP operative. They've now signed up 40,000 of these people. And as you see from my film, one woman challenges 32,000 voters. She just sends in a list from this group, True the Vote, in each county. Another guy challenges 4,000 voters, 10,000 voters, 20,000 voters. And the problem is that in states like Georgia, it's harder and harder to challenge the challengers. So I'm here on ground zero in Georgia. Now, the NAACP is sued, saying you can't do this because, by the way, some of these challenges, this is new. These guys are going to be challenging on Election Day. They've already challenged almost 1 million voters we know of, but they can challenge on Election Day. And if your ballot hasn't been counted, they can challenge that ballot, a mail-in ballot, the next day, the day after the election. You don't even know your ballot's been challenged. But if you do find out your ballot's been challenged, what you need to do is, in some states like Nevada, Wisconsin, Michigan, what you have to do is re-register on the spot, their same-day registration. But what I'm looking at is this nightmare, because the NAACP has sued, but the courts, the Supreme Court just ruled that Virginia could remove voters in the week before the election.
Right.
So there's no longer the protection of the National Voter Registration Act, which says you can't remove people or challenge their vote within 90 days of an election. So these vigilante challenges, the basic argument of the NAACP, I just talked to the president of the NAA in Georgia, Gerald Griggs, who's in our film, it undermines the #1 defense against these vigilante attacks. Then you have the other problem of provisional ballots being handed out like candy. So if you're challenged, we know that at least, people don't realize they take these provisional ballots. And by the way, if you're black, Hispanic, or Asian American, the chance you will be shunted to a provisional ballot is 300% higher than if you're white. And 2.7 million provisional ballots, according to the Elections Assistance Commission, which is our official federal agency which tracks this, in the last election, 2.7 million provisional ballots were rejected. Overwhelmingly voters of color. If you're black, the chance your ballot will be rejected is 700% higher than if you're white. These are government statistics, by the way. So we're looking at a massive dumping of people into the provisional ballot dumpster. Now, by the way, one thing you can do, please go to gregpalast.com or to saveyourvote.org. We can watch the film for free, but also check your registration and learn how you can challenge the challenge. You might have to go into, like one of the heroes of our film, Kamala Turner. He went into the voting rights, into the registrar's office, and they call it curing your ballot. You go in with proof of your citizenship, a U.S. government ID, and you go in with proof of your address. I'm sorry it's going to take work, but the major flew 5,000 miles round trip. You can go down to your local office and cure your ballot. Just about every state allows you, when you get your provisional ballot, you get a number and you can check to see if they'll count it. You have to take action or they won't count it. And then there's non-certification. And this is where the riots come in. I'm here in Georgia where I'm talking to 3%ers who are blunt. We've got the guns, we've got the AR-15s, we've got our places picked out at the top of the buildings on Peachtree Street in Atlanta, and we're ready for the revolution, because if Harris wins, it could only be by cheating, and it's our right to revolt. And if that means violence, it's violence. They're saying we have more guns than they do, meaning the Harris people. So we are so we're not worried about that violence. But the point is, they could use violence. They could use violence to stop the Electoral College from meeting in the state capitals. In fact, we have Alex Jones and Arlie Alexander in front of the Georgia State House saying, if you don't give us Trump, we're going to burn this whole S down. Now, the NAACP has noted they've taken our film because it's a violation of Georgia anti-terrorism statutes. But if it prevents the Electoral College from meeting because it's capital in Carson City, Nevada, in Lansing, Michigan, which is heavily armed, and here in Atlanta, if the Electoral College cannot meet in their capital, you're going to lose your electoral votes. And then finally, we got this issue of non-certification. Here in Georgia, they've just established a brand new state elections commission. The Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and the governor are not on it. It's controlled by MAGA nuts, including one who was introduced by Trump at his rally saying, and Trump says, she is going to guarantee our victory.
Right.
I didn't know that's what state boards of elections are supposed to do. But if they've already announced in Georgia, the state board, that they are very likely, they've already signaled this, not to certify the Fulton County, that's Atlanta's vote, in which case Georgia loses all of its electoral votes. And that could be the difference that could pull Harris down below 270. And I know you've given this lesson before, Tom. If no candidate gets 270, let's say that Harris gets 284, and then she loses the electoral votes of Georgia. She's below 270. Even if Trump only has 260, it goes to the 12th Amendment, which is one state, one vote. California gets a vote. South Dakota gets a vote. D.C. gets no vote. 26 Republican state delegation majorities right now. That means Trump gets elected. So these are the dangers, and I'm not saying this will happen, but it's time that we begin to think about how we respond to the violence, to the lack of certification, to the massive number of people of color shunted to provisional ballots, and to these horrible racist vigilante challenges, which are going to hit 2 million voters who are going to get walloped and they won't even know it.
Yeah, I get it. And this is all because we are one of maybe a dozen countries in the world, democracies in the world, that does not guarantee an absolute right to vote. I mean, we're there with Iran and Syria, and I mean, none of them are European countries or, Western-style democracies.
I got to tell you, I report, because I report for the BBC, Al Jazeera, and others all over the world, mainstream news. People are shocked that the so-called font of democracy, the salesman of democracy of the United States, they don't have in other nations where you can just challenge people and wipe them off the voter rolls. That doesn't happen. It literally doesn't happen. Some places like Switzerland, they don't even have registration. They don't assume that everyone's a criminal trying to vote. And in fact, we don't have criminals trying to vote. We just have people guilty of voting while black or voting while Hispanic or voting while Asian American or young. That's the problem. And we are unique among the OECD, the advanced nations, so-called, in allowing people to remove other people from the voter rolls. And it just smells Jim Crow in the worst way that we have not seen. Again, these mass challenges, this mass attack on voting rights has not happened since 1946.
1946, amazing. Greg Palast, get over to saveyourvote.org and check it out, or gregpalast.com. Greg, thanks so much for dropping by.
You're the best, Tom.
Back at you. It's 16 minutes past the hour. We'll be right back.